مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students of grade 9, I welcome you once again. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about Module 8, All the Action. Lesson B, Vocabulary and Listening, page 90. Our objectives today are, first, to match 8 words or phrases related to video games with their definitions given correctly, and to answer for comprehension questions correctly after listening to a part of a documentary about the history of computer games. Now, let's start with the vocabulary. This picture is of an action game. Next, we have adventure games. After that, sci-fi games. Sci-fi is a short form from science fiction. Next, simulation games. After that, racing games. And finally, we have educational games. Next, we have gamer. Gamer is a person who plays games. For example, my friend Rashid is a professional gamer. Next, computer graphic. It means the images which are displayed on the screen. For example, our computer teacher designed beautiful graphics on computer. This is called a game console. It means a computer system that you connect to a screen in order to play video games. The brown box had a console and 2 controls. This picture is of a game controller. The device needed to control a character or object in a game. This game had 2 game controllers. Next, we have platform. It means the necessary devices and programs for a game. After that, score. It means the number of points a player gets. I scored in this game 28,830 points. And finally, we have plot. Plot means the story. For example, the plot of the game is so interesting. Now let's move to exercise A. What kind of video games do you like playing, or why? As we said in the beginning of this video, we have several types of video games. We have action, we have educational, we have adventure, we have mobile, sci-fi, racing, online, single player, multiplayer, or simulation games. Now let's move to exercise B. Which of the words below do you know? Match them with their definitions. Then check your answer in a dictionary. Let's start with the definitions. On the right, we have here A, the images which are displayed on the screen. B, the device needed to control a character or object in a game. C, a computer system that you connect to the screen in order to play video games. D, the end of a game. E, the necessary devices and programs for a game. F, the person who plays games. G, the story. H, the number of points a player gets. And now, let's move to number 1. Gamer. As we said in the vocabulary description, gamer is the person who plays games, which is letter F. Number 2, computer graphics. It means the images which are displayed on the screen, which is A. Number 3, game console. The answer will be C, a computer system that you connect to a screen in order to play video games. 4, game controller. It will be letter B, the device needed to control a character or object in a game. 5, platform. It will be E, the necessary devices and programs for a game. 6, score, the number of points a player gets. H. 7, game over. It is the end of the game, which is letter D. And finally, plot, which is the story of a game. It is letter G. Now, before we listen to the audio we have, let me ask you a few questions. What was the first video game you played? And how have video games changed since then? I need you to pause the video for a moment and try answering this question. Now, let's move to the audio. Exercise B, listen to a part of a documentary about the history of computer games and answer the questions.
8D. Listen. B. Listen to a part of a documentary about the history of computer games and answer the questions. Choose A, B, C, or D.
Since the creation of computers, people have been trying to develop computer games. These games, however, were not made just for amusement. In the 1940s and 1950s, computers were particularly expensive machines that required an entire room, so they were mostly owned by universities and big companies. Computer engineers invented games to test the computer's capabilities, and the public was fascinated to get news about these modern machines. These first games were not for the general public, and their use was limited to a small circle of technology professionals. Ralph H. Baer, known as the father of video games, is the man who changed all of that and made gaming technology available to ordinary people. By the 1960s, millions of Americans owned TVs, and Baer believed that this technology could be used for more than just passive entertainment. In 1967, Baer's company gave him financial support to do research and create a device that could connect to a TV and make it interactive. In 1972, the Magnavox Odyssey, otherwise known as the Brown Box, was ready for the market. Similar to gaming packages bought today, the Brown Box had a console and 2 controls. Included also were scorecards and 6 games that were in the form of cards too, which were placed in the console. Scorecards were necessary because the game didn't record scores. Players then could only see dots and lines on their screens. With sales of under 200,000 units, Ralph Baer's Brown Box was considered anything but successful. But there is no doubt about the importance of his invention in video game history. The Magnavox Odyssey was the first of its kind, and many that followed borrowed from it, making the world of gaming what it is today.
Now let's answer the questions. Why did computer engineers create the first video games? A. To build a new technology. B. To exchange ideas among themselves. C. To get the public interested in computers. D. To learn more about what computers were able to do. The correct answer is D. Number 2. According to what you heard, why did Baer create the Brown Box? A. To improve the TV. B. To get money from his employer. C. To put video games in every home. or D, to make it possible for people to play games using their TV? And the correct answer is also letter D, to make it possible for people to play games using their TV. Question 3. Which of the sentences below is not true about the brown box? A. Scores appeared on the players' screens. B. Scores were not worked out automatically. C. The game cards were put into the console. D. It had some common features with the modern video game console. And the correct answer is A. Scores appeared on the players' screens. Question 4. What can we infer about the Magnavox Odyssey? A. It had lots of fans. B. It was a very successful product. C. It shaped the future of video games. D. It sold more units than was expected. As we all heard, it shaped the future of video games, which is letter C. And by this, dear students, we have come to the end of our session for today. Until we meet next time, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.